Hi YouTube, I wanted to demonstrate a method today of how to make perfect stovetop popcorn every time. You know, popcorn tends to get a bad rap, mostly because of the microwave popcorn. It's so loaded with sodium and butter and fat and all that. But popcorn is actually healthy. It is actually a whole grain. It does have some protein. And in our post-COVID-19 environment, you know, people are going to be looking for survival foods that they can stock up on, and popcorn is great for that. I've literally stored popcorn for 10 years and still cooked it and ate it, and it was just fine. So as you can see, a plain popcorn contains 4 grams of protein per serving, 29 grams of carbohydrates, 6 grams of fiber. And so to make popcorn unhealthy, you have to make it unhealthy. So what you need to do this with is a saucepan, depending on how much popcorn you're gonna be making. Depends on the size of saucepan you need. I'm just doing 1 serving, so I have a 1.5 quart saucepan to work with. You also need a lid. Okay, see-through is better in my opinion. Also, note of caution, do not do this with non-stick cookware. In fact, if you have non-stick cookware, throw it out. It's dangerous. It leaches chemicals into your food. You really can't use it at high heat, so just get rid of it. I only have stainless steel, cast iron, and carbon steel cookware at this point. And you need some dry popcorn kernels. The seahorse little cup is optional, but I think it makes a difference. And I like to use coconut oil. You can actually use whatever oil you like to use. You can actually even use butter for this, but I like coconut oil. So, and I have about a tablespoon of kernels here. And then I'm gonna add to a cold, this saucepan is completely cold right now. I have not turned on the heat at all. I'm just gonna put in about a tablespoon of coconut oil. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn up the heat to, on my stove, it's about a 4. Depending on whether you have a gas stove, electric stove, or induction stove, it's gonna depend, but below medium heat, just below medium heat. And all I wanna do is let this coconut oil melt. Okay, we're just about melted. And also with coconut oil, a lot of times in the summer, the coconut oil will ought to be melted at room temperature. It's a little bit cool today. So, and I just bought this jar at the store. Okay, so now that's basically just above melting point. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in my popcorn. Give it a stir just to coat the kernels in oil. And then put your lid on. Make sure that your vent is where the exit is. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait until I hear the first kernel pop. Now sometimes you can see it, but if steam builds up, then you won't be able to see it. So you just have to listen for it. The key to getting a perfectly popped kernel of corn is you want the pressure inside the corn to build up evenly. So if you put this on at high heat, which I will demonstrate later on, it builds up pressure very quickly and ruptures the kernel. What you want is the pressure to build up as evenly as possible so that you get an explosion of the kernel. And basically when you're making popcorn, all you're really doing is steaming water that's stored inside the kernel. So now we're starting to get some steam building up, so I'm starting to lose visibility into the actual popcorn itself. But I can see the kernels are moving and kind of jiggling a little bit, which is good. The oil is definitely bubbling. And you want to see those. And it doesn't hurt to give it a stir every once in a while, but I don't find that a necessary step until the actual popping process. Still waiting for the first kernel to pop. Okay, I just heard it pop. Now I'm going to turn up the heat to high. Maybe not full high. On mine I'm turning up to about 9. And now what's going to happen is you're going to get an immediate rush of heat, very drastic increase in temperature that's going to cause these kernels to start exploding. And now at this point, I would go ahead and start stirring because I don't want the kernels to sit in place on the bottom of the pan. Okay, then you just listen for when the popping stops, and then you should be good. Usually you'll get 1 or 2 pops after you're done, but be okay. And that is the result. Consistent, large kernels. Now, let's check to see how many unpopped kernels we have. Nothing left in the pan. Nothing. Not a single unpopped kernel. Not too bad. Now for full disclosure, you will still get some kernels from that popped while you were at low heat that don't fully form. But I consider those sacrificial kernels. And, you know, I thank them for their service. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the exact same amount of oil and the exact same amount of popcorn. But this time I'm going to heat up the oil before I put the kernels in. And this is generally the way that people are taught to make popcorn on the stove. And I'm going to show you the difference when they're done. Okay, so I've turned up the heat to just about 9 on my stove here, so the heat's a little above medium high. And this time I'm going to let this completely melt. I'm going to let it completely melt, and I'm going to actually let it get up to temperature. Now I'm just going to gauge by the heat that's coming off. I'm not going to use a thermometer or anything, but I know that I want to get it good and hot. Basically, when I get to the point where I can't hold my hand for more than a second, then I'll know I'm ready. Also, another tidbit, coconut oil is actually one of the best oils for creating a non-stick surface on your stainless steel cookware. Now, obviously for a saucepan, that's not that important because you're cooking liquids in it and it's going to come out. Okay, that's the end. I'm starting to see a little bit of smoke, so I'm going to go ahead and add my kernels. Immediately cover it. Give it a swirl, just like I did last time. And now we're going to wait for the first pop. Okay, now popping. Okay, and I can smell burning. I can already smell burning. Now one thing you should probably already be noticing is the fact that there appears to be less popcorn in this pan than the last time. So let's check the kernels. Now if you notice, these are more mushroomed, very small pops. And what that also means is that the kernel inside is still mostly intact. You can clearly see it. It's just not as good of a pop. So I think if people would learn this method, that they could get the same consistency of popcorn that they get in a microwave popcorn, we could save a lot of money and be a lot healthier with it. So there you have it. So quick comparison of the two. The ones in my right hand, this hand, are the original, the first using the low heat method. These are from the exclusive high heat method. You can see the difference, quality difference from the same corn. Now some popcorn, it does pop more mushroom-like. That's popcorn you would use for candies, making popcorn balls, things like that. So that's not necessarily bad, but that's an entirely different type of popcorn, a totally different strand, or it's a different type of popcorn.